Do you struggle to make decisions? Let's talk about analysis paralysis. What's up, y'all? My name is Elia. I'm a mindset coach. I talk candidly about my journey, as well as share tips to encourage growth and healing and uplift anyone who may struggle with feeling seen. So, what is analysis paralysis? Put simply, it's overanalyzing or overthinking a situation to the point of getting stuck and making no decision and taking no action. And this can have a range of underlying causes or reasons, but it's largely due to anxiety around possible negative outcomes. So that then leads to avoidance of those possible negative outcomes through inaction. And you may see over planning to the extent of trying to control every last detail about a situation, but not actually taking action and executing on the things that are planned. So it's a vicious cycle of gathering information, analyzing that information, sitting on the information that you've just analyzed, and then gathering new information and really working in that circular motion, but not executing on any of that information that is analyzed to actually move forward with the overall situation. And again, this can have a range of reasons and causes behind it, but one of the things you may largely see is that someone may have a history of either being ridiculed or judged for decisions they've made in the past, or otherwise may have not been given the autonomy to make decisions for themselves, so they never learned to actually trust their ability to make decisions in the first place. Whatever the reason and whatever's behind it, this can really have some negative impacts on your life. One such impact is something called decision fatigue, where having to make a lot of decisions over and over can actually wear you down and wear down your ability to make any decisions at all. And that's something that happens regardless of whether or not you're actually making those decisions. But in the case of analysis paralysis, it's almost amplified because none of the decisions are actually being made. So it's like every decision that's not moving forward, you're still feeling the toll of having to analyze and think about the decision, but then also dealing with the reality of stagnancy of all those decisions that haven't been made. It's kind of a reinforcing, compounding effect, if you will. And that can lead to missed opportunities. Over time, that leads to a cycle of self doubt and poor self esteem. And all of that can trickle out into various areas of your life and just create some really insidious issues that then are harder to kind of pull yourself out of as a result of that inaction combined with the lack of confidence or self esteem as a result of seeing that repetitive inaction. And of course, as always, I want to share a bit about my experience in this area to humanize this because I, like anybody else, have struggled with this at points in my life. So I'm a pretty analytical person. I can split a hair 1,001 ways and even then still find a few more ways to split that hair. And that's something that I used to really struggle with when I was younger and getting stuck in the over analyzing or the planning phases of things because I just wanted as much information as I could possibly gather, which don't get me wrong, it is valuable and important to pull in information, but I would easily get stuck there and overanalyze to the point of just exhausting myself and not even wanting to deal with the situations at all. And a way that I actually started to combat this, and this may seem like a trivial example, but it really helped me not only in this area of my life, but also in every area of my life, is that when I would go out, something I started doing in my 20s is when I would go out to restaurants. I don't know about you, but I don't like being disappointed by my food. All right, so that's already like a setup. But when I would go out to restaurants, I would look at the menu and be like, man, maybe I'm seeing several things that I really like on this menu, and I would first and foremost limit my options to just a few. And if the server came around and maybe I wasn't quite ready, I would tell them, hey, do your work, go around the table, or maybe you go do whatever you got to do and come back in a few minutes, as they often, will ask if you need a couple minutes. But I will tell them by the time you get back to me, no matter what, I will have a decision for you, which would then put me in a position of responsibility to myself to analyze the situation, pull in whatever information I could, and then set a deadline for myself that I would commit to and just make a decision and deal with at that point. And again, this is a trivial example, but when I started practicing that in all areas of my life, it really allowed me to move forward and start to trust my decision making skills. And of course, there are plenty of times I was disappointed with my food, and plenty of times I was disappointed with other decisions I had made as a result of kind of this model of decision making. But the point is, it allowed me to actually make decisions and move forward. So, with that said, I want to share a few tips that have helped me on my journey in hopes that they will help you on yours. First and foremost, it's really important to explore and challenge the fears that may be stopping you from actually making a decision. What is that worst case scenario? Envision it, really get cozy with it, and bring it front and center. Allow it to live outside of just your head. And however you do that is up to you, but you kind of have to bring it to some sort of material aspect so you can actually examine it and then begin to challenge it. Because sometimes we make up these crazy scenarios in our heads that really and truly are not rooted in anything at all in the moment, which may be rooted in past experiences, past traumas, past failures, but not in the present. So you have to examine and challenge that. And once you're actually in a situation of, making those choices, it's important to limit your options and limit the intake of information. Again, you need information and you need choices. It's You never want to just go with only one choice and put your all your eggs in one basket. But at some point, you will overwhelm yourself with information and choices. So you have to find a sweet spot between, hey, this gives me range and this just overwhelms me. So limiting those choices and kind of blocking out new information after a certain point so you can focus on what you have is really important. Additionally, it's important to get a good sense of the actual urgency of a situation. Not all situations require the same type of decision making. Some situations you can drag your feet for years, literally, before you actually make a call. Other situations you have seconds, minutes, days, a very short window of time. So understanding that urgency and then choosing how to respond to that urgency and giving yourself whatever amount of time is actually reasonable in that scenario is really important because you don't want to rush decisions, but you also don't want to drag your feet in situations that need quick decisions. And then it's important to give yourself a hard deadline and commit to whatever decision you make as a result of that timeline and the information you've been able to gather and the options you've been able to analyze and kind of think over during that time. Just whatever that deadline is, whatever that trigger for a decision is, once it comes, make a decision and commit to it. And then lastly, it's important to have some form of a loose recovery plan because, again, not every decision is going to go well. Some are going to kind of blow up in your face. So that's not to say always plan for the worst. I don't necessarily like that phraseology, but I think it is important to have some idea of, okay, well, if this doesn't work out, what am I then going to do? So you're not completely caught flat-footed if something doesn't work out. So I hope those do help you on your journey. And as always, I want to leave you with one reflective question. And today's question is, how much do you really trust yourself? And what fears could be impacting that? Think about it.